This is a production of Cornell University.
Good afternoon and welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Larry Bush, and on behalf of the Clark Middle East Fund, I'm pleased to welcome you today to this, the first formal event at which our Clark Middle East Fellow, Judge Raed Al-Saidi, will be speaking. Judge Rod will be introduced now by our Dean, Stuart Schwab.
It's a great pleasure for me to introduce the Honorable Raed Al-Saidi, the Jack G. Clark Middle East Fellow at Cornell Law School. Judge Rod was formerly the Chief Investigative Judge of the Iraqi High Tribunal, the court which investigated and tried Saddam Hussein and other former leaders of Iraq for genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. Judge Rod graduated from the University of Baghdad in 1993 with a Bachelor of Law degree. He then did his further legal education at the Judicial Training Institute of Iraq in criminal investigation, where he was the valedictorian of that class, and later at the Judicial Institute of Iraq, where he studied judicial sciences. After working as an attorney in Baghdad in 1997, he was promoted to the senior judicial investigator, where he supervised other investigators in major crimes. In 2002, he was appointed by the Iraqi Minister of Justice as the investigative judge in Al-Manathra in Iraq, and later appointed by the Supreme Court of Najaf as an investigative judge. He was then appointed by Ambassador Paul Bremer and the Chief Justice and the Iraqi Judicial Council to serve as the investigative judge for the newly formed Central Criminal Court of Iraq. And in August 2004, Iraqi Prime Minister Ayad Alawi, with the Chief Justice, appointed Judge Rod as the investigative judge for the Iraqi High Tribunal. Then his fellow judges elected him the chief investigative judge of that tribunal. And there he just served in a number of prominent capacities. Judge Rod investigated and referred for trial the Al-Dujal case, the first case against Saddam Hussein and 7 co-defendants for crimes against humanity. Later he investigated the Anfal case, the second case against Saddam Hussein and 6 co-defendants for genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes committed against the Kurdish people of Iraq. So it's really quite an exciting and really unique experience that Judge Rod has had. In 2007, Cornell Law School's Clark Center for International and Comparative Legal Study invited him to be the Clark Middle East Fellow, and that's where he has been this academic year, serving as our Clark Fellow. He's residing in Ithaca with his wife and 3 children. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Judge Rod.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me today. And it's so great to talk in the Cornell University Law School. School gave me his honors offer to work here and make my research. As Dean Schwab has mentioned, according to my position as a Chief Investigative Judge in Iraqi High Tribunal, I'm looking now just to talk a little bit about our experience there, how we are created the Iraqi High Tribunal and why, and what the technical and legal challenges we had. In the beginning, I thought it's important to talk legal analyzing, legal speech, but I thought after that there's many professors will focus about this court and will detail many parts there. For that reason, I will focus now for the challenges, technical and legals. This court established as an independent court of the Iraqi judicial system, 2003. And the name in the beginning, Iraqi Special Tribunal, and the name is replaced after that by law number 10, 2005 as the Iraqi High Tribunal. When they established this court, many of Iraqi experts, many of Iraqi's legal peoples, they are looking for the international court like Yugoslavia, Rwanda, But frankly, to establish court like that, we have to have a resolution from the Security Council. And there is no option and no way to have any decision from the Security Council with Russia, France, China is there, because all of them is against the war. For that reason, to establish rule of law in Iraq, there is only one choice. It's domestic court. And we are established. The court has had many criticized different fields. But at the same time, there is many things is good in this court, but there's no one is focused for it. People criticize this court and comparing with the international level, international standards, and miss the Iraqi rule of law, Iraqi legal system. And also, they miss very important things. They miss the Iraqi bloody history last half century, from 1958 until 2003. And compare this history with the court, what we had. The history is very important. The first government in Iraq, 1958, when they took over the authority, they execute the king of Iraq and his family in the same day. The second coup, 1963, when the first coup of the Ba'athists, when they took over the authority, they killed the prime minister and his assistant within 1 hour without a trial. 1979, the first day when Saddam took over the presidency, after a small speech in July, they execute many of the Ba'athist members without any trial, because they are opposed for the ex-president, Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr, and they against his rule, 1979. This point is very important in Iraqi history, and this responsibility for the legal people to improve this situation and change the picture for Iraq and for the Iraqi people. For that reason, we thought it's important to have rule of law in Iraq. How we can create this rule of law, and the UN at the same time refused to create the international court, must be have another solution. This solution is domestic court. When we start in this court, and according to my position, I have to build the investigation session. And I have to build the cases in this court. Our speech today, how to build these cases, how many challenges we have there, which kind of challenges. The first challenges we have, the numbers of the victims. How many victims we have? North of Iraq, 1988, February, until 1988, September. Ex-regimes killed more than 100,000 civilian person. An operation is called Al-Anfal. They attacked the Kurdish population north of Iraq. They destroyed more than 4,000 villages and killed more than 100,000 civilian persons. South of Baghdad, until south of Iraq, there is another story. There is 1991, when the Iraqi troops is back from the Kuwait, and there is another revolution against the regime. The regime used the forces against the civilian, and they killed more than 200,000 Iraqi civilian person. From 1979 till 2003, there is different. There is different policy and different systematic against the parties in Iraq. Anyway, we are start in May to establish this court and to create the documents, number of victims, mass graves, fundings, and how we can dealing with this kind of people, the defendants, manipulative characters. And also, we suppose and assume there is a lot of politics pressure. To change, that's big challenges. Numbers of victims. I mentioned before small things. North of Iraq, there is 100,000. South of Iraq, there is more than 200,000. The court receives hundreds of victims daily. They came from south, north to the main office. In the beginning, just we have one office in Baghdad. And frankly, that's not work. We have to make our situation, our process easy. For that reason, we are created 4 offices. 2 north of Iraq, 1 in Sulaymaniyah, 1 in Erbil, to cover the north region. 1 down south of Iraq, in Basra, to cover the south region. 1 in the middle of Iraq, Najaf, to cover the middle region. And the main office in Baghdad. We send judges, serves north. We send prosecutors also, serves north, with investigators, paralegals, and administrative staff. And we did same thing with other offices. We find this is the process is working very well and make our processes easy to listen to the victims, witnesses, and seen crimes. Everything's okay. But in the same time, we have big project together. We can't work to listen to the victims and leave the mass graves and the documents alone. We have to work together. When I sent and I created the offices, north of Iraq, south of Iraq, middle of Iraq, at the same time, I start looking for documents and location of the mass graves. That time we had 2 sources for the documents. 1, court itself. We get most of the Iraqi official record. And the second one, we are also received many documents from the NGO and United States. Some people is surprising. United States? Yes, United States. They had position over those documents since from 1991. After 1991, the north of Iraq is kind of independent, and they took most of this document and sent it over to the United States here. And they're working for this document in Colorado. We call this Colorado document. There is a huge Iraqi history there now. until December 2004, we received tons of documents. Excuse me, tons, not numbers. I received more than 10 tons of documents. To work over all these documents, I have to find process. There is a track, and there is no way to work with the regular things to check each piece of paper. Anyway, we create a place out of the court, is several miles, security place. We call it EUS, evidence, no, SUE, Security Evidence Unit. We create a place, very safe, and we have two steps in this place. First one, we hired 100 individuals working over all these documents. And we divided these individuals 4 groups. Each one, 25. First one just separated the documents, legal and the regular, threw the regular out and used the legal. Second, separate the legal as important and just regular order. Maybe is administrative order like this, and separate it. Third, separate this legal paper as evidence and normal. We push the normal out of our job and use the evidence. Fourth group, and this is the group's main group and very important. We are divided according to our system. According to our system, we are established 14 cases. The fourth group divided our electronic data to 14 cases. They are working for this is paper and fine. This paper charged with the Anfal case. They scanning this paper and put with the Anfal documents. Maybe this paper charged with the DGL. Scanning and put with the DGL. Same thing 1991, Barazanine, and other cases. That's mean we have 14 case, and according to our electronic database, we have 14 content we can use it. This is the first step. Second step, there is 24 investigative judges and 60 investigators and more than 100 paralegal working. They can't work in the same place. No. They have electronic access over these documents. They check each judge, each investigative judge, or each team. Sometimes we have a team working in some cases. Go through the electronic access and check the documents. Which document we can use in this case? Which important document? Who's regular? Who's not? We find this way the best way we are use it. And also that is this way electronic database prove them they save time, save effort more than the regular way. Until 2006 December, we almost finished scanning most of our documents. We had in these systems more than 6 million documents. In the same time, we are working over the victims, witnesses, offices around the different fields in Iraq, documents, there is another group working for the mass graves. Because these are our tools: witness, victims, documents, and the evidence from the mass grave. To connect the systematic of the ex-regime and the policy against the people, we have to find the relation between the acts on the grounds and the order and documents and the stories of the witnesses, and what's kind of the bridge to build our cases. Mass graves is one of the most important steps we are using there. Also, there is two sources for the mass graves. One, witnesses is really more important step. The witnesses gave us the location of the mass graves and the time. Sometime also they give us this kind of victims. They are Sunnis or Kurdish. But the time of the mass graves is so important because if they said this is the graves before 1990, that's so clear for us, Kurdish victims. Because the operation in 1988 against the Kurdish. If they said after 1990, that's Shia. Sometimes there is parties because they are arrested the community and the religious parties from 1980 until 2003. But that's not main point. The main point is the Shias and the Kurdish. Second source, the human rights organization, they are coordinating. They have coordinated with the U.S. military because they are used modern and technical and most of this technology to find the places. Most of the mass graves is isolated location in the desert. It's not easy to go. Sometimes there is no way to use any truck. You have to go by the helicopter just to find this place. December 2004, that's the main deadline for us. Our database, we have information over 250 mass graves in Iraq. 250. Each mass grave had more than between 10 to 15 graves. Each grave had between 80 to 100 state of the human remedy. We need to open these graves. We need to work over this. How we can do that? This is the first question. The second question, now we have data, locations, all the information we need, but how we can work? Minister of Health, Minister of Human Rights, archaeology departments in Iraq, that's clear. They can't do that alone. We are just a new government now. But their solution, our system, according to the rule of law, rule of procedure in Iraq, we can ask for the international support. But there is no international support except United States and the British. And we ask them, they'd be happy to help us. They offer great project. But because the security situation and the location of the mass graves, we need to select some mass graves to open it. We agree to open 5 because there is a huge details. To open each mass grave, each one, you need to build camp around this area. Look like small city. We need places for the sleeping, for the expert and the peoples there. We need showers, some rest places, dining room, refrigerators for two kinds, one for food, another one for people, because we took the bodies and we have to keep it in the safe place. Internet access, satellite, cell phone, electricity, generators, security, army, city. We have to build city in the desert. Each mass graves cost us minimum 5 millions. Each one between 5 to 10. If we go with the minimum, that's we are spent $25 million, maximum 50. Regime Crime Liaison Office is called RCLO. This office is working, created from the U.S. government to help the Iraqi High Tribunal offer most of this is budget, because we can't do that alone. And we hired international experts. They are working with Bosnia before, Yugoslavia, to came to Iraq and work with us again. We open it, Al-Hadar, that's area north of Iraq, in Mosul. The victims there is Kurdish, and we find different kind of graves. There is a graves for the women and children, and graves for the just man. Muthanna, south of Iraq, also the victims is Kurdish. That gives us good, with the document we have also, good view or good picture which kind of systematic or policy the ex-regime used against the Kurdish. They arrested people in the north, took them to the desert of Mosul, or sent them down south of Iraq. Just change the places. Also opened Misan, near to the border between Iraq and Iran, Karbala, Najaf. This is 5 mass graves where I opened it, and we took the bodies to test. We have to send these bodies from the mass graves to Baghdad, use the helicopters operation, because the facility for the test and the expert, we can't let them go to the desert because really so danger, and we keep them in Baghdad with the security place with all the tools they needed. There is no way to put all the tools there in the desert. There is kind of very specific tools, and I hope maybe in the future we can publish some pictures about this. I'm looking now for time, but hopefully I can cover all this. Funding. I said documents 10 tons. And mass graves we need at least minimum 2,550 millions. Funding is very important step in our project. To succeed, must we have enough money to work over all this. Iraqi government first year is offered $3 million US. That means half of this money is go to the salaries and the securities. But at the same time, we have good partners and very rich. US. Regime Crime Liaison Office have a good budget, but they are running this budget by the US Embassy in Iraq. But they, at the same time, offer great money to build the security evidence unit and all the electronic system there. and with the Iraqi government's courthouse. We are used courthouse. The building itself is used before as offices for the leaders, the highest leaders of the Ba'ath regime. The ex-regime is built this to use for the Saddam Hussein and the assistant as leader of Ba'athist. We find this the strong building in Iraq, the strongest one. In Baghdad, we can use it. It's a huge building. Even if you are attack this building by multiple rockets, whatever, look like eggs. The walls around 2 meters, and the middles, most of the steel between 2 walls. Yeah, and also we finished all this project by this money. This is the first 4-point technical problem, but there is another 2. It's not technical, it's human. 1, the defendant's manipulative characters. The second, the politician pressure. First one is very important. We are trying to establish new rule of law in Iraq. If we are used the same way we are used, the ex-regime used it before, and we have fake trial, that's mean we didn't do anything. That's nothing for our offer. It's good for us to continue on our project, but we have to give a new picture for the Iraqi people. What's rule of law mean? We spend a lot of money, a lot of blood in this project. Some of individuals, because they are running for us, getting killed. How to let them understand this is a new Iraq, a new message for the Iraqi people. How can respect the human rights? How can respect the defendant's rights? The investigative chamber, they respect the defendant's rights. And they respect all the attorney's rights. But at the same time, we are learning from another experience. We are learning from Rwanda, from Sierra Leone, from Yugoslavia. Don't give tool to the accused to use the court against us. Don't let the accused play by time. We have to understand the characters of the accused, which the perfect way we can use with them. Saddam and his assistant were not easy characters to deal with, frankly. They are leaders long time ago, and they are using the word all the time. But the best way we are use it, to let them think they are comfortable and talk. This is the only way they work with them. When they feel they are comfortable and starting talking, we can throw some question in the middle. And they continue on the answer. This is our strategy to get the information. If anyone talk a lot, he will make a lot of mistake. The mistake, we need it. We use it to show the people this is the ex-regime policy against the Iraqi people. And we succeeded in this. Inside the court. Also, there is another problem, a huge problem. Rule of law and the politician agenda. This is the fighting all the time. Our responsibility must be send this message. No one above the law. Must be respect rule of law. The politicians sometimes use this court for their agenda. I can't talk a lot because I know this place is maybe used as a lectures class, but I want to say the final things here. If you start a project like this in Iraq, you will get a lot of pressure. You will spend a lot of blood. You will spend a lot of money, a lot of offer. But if you believe rule of law, you have to continue and push all of this out and continue on your mission. Without this job, 100%, you will be out, and no one can help you, and there is no way also to create a new rule of law and improve your country. We did this not for us, no. We did this project and let the people understand what's mean, the rule of law means in Iraq, and why we are respect all the human rights, all the defense rights, because we think that's important for Iraqi future and for our children. We don't like to back to the past and kill the king and his family without any trial. We have to continue to let the people understand the rule of law is very important to build any country. And I think finally the court is succeed to send 3 messages to the Iraqi leaders. There is no one above the law. And if you have any position, you have to serve your citizen, your people, not use your people to serve for you. Second, strong message to the judges and the prosecutors and the legal experts. Your responsibility to handling your country in your shoulders and move forward to improve the situation and the system. Third, the politician. If you are looking to the real country and respect this country, respect the constitution, must be stay away from the rule of law. Thank you so much, and I hope I can cover a small thing for this issue. I don't know if we have any time for questions, but if we have any questions...
Some of you may need to leave, but I know we do have some time, so we can take a few questions if there are some, and I'd like to invite them.
Let me just introduce Mr. Majid. Maybe he can help me something to understand the question clearly. If there is any question, I will be happy to answer this question.
Do you think was anything necessary for the new Iraqi government to grant amnesty to the past regime high-ranking officers as part of agreement to end the conflict?
So can you repeat that? There is necessary for what?
Necessary for new Iraqi government to grant amnesty to past regime high-ranking officers
Yeah.
as part of agreement to end the conflict.
Al-Afu. Yeah. Okay. If we're talking about the amnesties for the leaders, we are under the international crimes. There is no amnesty in the international crimes. That's one. And that is a long time ago. How we are use the law over this, because there is amnesty also. Iraq signed the Genocide Committee and War Crimes Committees. Genocide is 1959 and war crime 1956. That's mean, in other words, that genocide Committee and the War Crimes Committee is part of the local penal law. Anyone commit international crime, there is no way to give him any amnesty. Yeah. This is the way. Our experience, we have to respect our people and work and serve them and protect them. Yeah.
Just first, I just want to say that
Raise your hand. Don't deserve it.
First of all, I just want to say that it's really an honor to have you here and to hear from you.
Thank you.
And to just be part of a law school where you're here. I really want to just applaud you for your courage. And I just want to ask, just besides the technical dimensions and the challenges, I'm assuming there also must have been personal dimensions, personal challenges. You probably had family that you were concerned about. How did you deal with those fears? How did your family, how did your friends deal with them? And what made you sort of decide to go ahead and do it? Still continue nonetheless.
Thank you for this question. But in the beginning, thank you so much for the kind speech. And thank you for this question. But there is two responsibility. One very small and one very big. Very small, you and your family. Very big, your country and your history and your future and your children. You know, your father is very proud when you are graduate from this, you know, because he think he did something for you. That's what we are doing. Our responsibility to carry our country and move forward. We came from the oldest legal history. But we had a problem with our government sometime. If I'm looking for the challenges or the problems personal, that means I can't do my job. To do my job correctly, I have to put all my personal and my family problem for the main point. The point is, must be succeed to give Iraq good future. Let the people understand what the rule of laws mean. That is our responsibility. But there is a problem all the time. Yeah, many personal problems. But we have to move. No way to stay. No way to say this is not my job. No. Continue. Same thing, the soldier in the army. They had families, but the honor of the country is more important. Please. Yeah.
In southern Iraq.
Sorry, South?
In the south.
Yeah.
After 1991.
Yes.
The failed revolution, was the majority of the victims
Shia.
Shia?
Yes.
I just want to establish that was indeed Shia.
Not majority. All of them Shia. Because, 14 governors, 3 North, Kurdish, and 11 Shia. Kurdish is after 1991 is kind of independent. We call it secure area, but this other is all this Shia. Other 4 governors is Salah ad-Din, Anbar, Mosul, and Diyala. There's nothing happened there. South of Baghdad and north of Iraq. Thank you. Another question?
Maybe this is something that you already mentioned, but during your talk, but what legal basis did you use when you were conducting the investigations? Were you using the law prior to the Saddam's regime or the one as defined during, or how did it function? Or was there a new procedure put in place for this tribunal specifically?
I want to say that's the beginning, but the time is really limited. We are used the same laws before under Saddam's regime. Until now, we are used the Iraqi penal law number 111, 69, and criminal procedure law number 23, 1971. No, except we are established the Iraqi High Tribunal statute as something specific for this project. But in same time, you find many articles is back due to the criminal procedure law and the penal law same time. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for this time.